I believe. Okay, over to
Well, thank
Simon.
you very much indeed, and greetings to you all. It's a real pleasure to be here, and hi to all of my Globetrotter friends and members in London and their guests, and any other new members to this amazing club, and to our international members like Jackie, my neighbour in Australia, and Globetrotters Toronto in Canada. Thanks for your hospitality just 3 years ago. And also to my friends in Globetrotters Chester. And now to the wide Zoom audience. I see I've got some friends over in Africa who've logged in. Lovely to see you folks. Thank you very much indeed. And especially welcome to my friends who are joining me as part of my celebrations of yet another significant birthday. I'll try and act my age. But before I start, I should just say, like the great British media, everything I say is 90% factual and 90% opinion. It's just easier to paint broad brushstrokes, and sometimes it's faster to use imprecise language. So no personal offence intended if that occurs. So right now it's 6 minutes past 3 on Sunday morning, which is 13 hours ahead of you all, which is pretty impressive because I'm usually late for everything. Question is, am I 6 months ahead of you? It might be 3 o'clock on Sunday morning, but when the sun rises in 2.5 hours time, there'll be fantastic birdsong, blue skies, lush and green grass, sunny, warm sand, and salty seas. Not that I want to generate too much upset among you all. It's summer here, but what am I experiencing? Is it your future summer of 2021, or is it last year's summer of 2020? It's for you to discuss in your breakout rooms later on. Just showing you a couple of, I could actually do full size, couldn't I? I do apologise about that. Some books that I've been reading during lockdown. What have I been doing over here? Well, I should just say I've had some friends in Malawi. These are my two goddaughters, actually. On the right is Kate, on the left is Rachel. Hi folks, I hope you're watching. It was their respective birthdays, and I got invited out to Malawi. I'm just trying to work out, it's 21, 18 months ago. And I would like to just share this fabulous clip from Kate. Luckily, Kate and I went on a safari together. Her camera was better than mine. Mine actually broke down, or the battery went flat on it. But this elephant was probably about 20 meters away from us. Perhaps I should just say this is Malawi in Africa. It's the country just north of South Africa and just to the west of Mozambique. So as you can see from the ears, they're large. It's an African elephant, not to be confused with an Indian elephant. Indian elephants you can ride on. You do not want to get close to these animals. They are completely wild. And about 3 weeks before we were there, a British soldier got trampled to death by one of these. So you really do have to treat them with enormous respect. As you do the country, it is completely barren. There's very little to eat. I was coming from the airport, saw these two guys. I sort of thought, they look familiar, but let's just stop off. Cost me about 2.5 pence per stick. And what they are is dried field mice. And at the party 2 days later, I put these down. I wasn't going to eat them. It's about the only thing I wouldn't eat. And put them on the banqueting table. I turned around and woof, they'd all gone. And I found this young lady was having a fabulous meal. So any time that you aren't sure about eating food, remember these poor people in Malawi, they don't earn a great deal. If you can buy your coffee from someone in Malawi, that'd be really appreciated. It really would be. Okay. This is Eric. You all know Eric. Eric is a member of Globetrotters. One of the things you have at the Globetrotters is something called mutual exchange. And if you're a member or a new guest today, it's a unique feature of the club that just before half time, there's a section called mutual aid. And 18 months ago, I put up my hand and said, I'm off to New Zealand. Any suggestions what I should do there? And during the break, this guy, Eric, came over to me and he said, you've got to meet my good friend, Glenda. Well, Glenda is the lady on the right. You will know Paula in the middle there, and that ugly chap is me. Glenda is as bad as a box of frogs. She has a heart of gold, and indeed, knowing that I was in New Zealand the day before lockdown, she phoned me long distance on my UK number and asked if I was sorted for the 1 month lockdown. Well, thank you, Eric, and thank you, Glenda. I was well sorted, but without luck on my side and without you, I could have been truly stuffed. That was spelt in capital letters. Second person who made this trip a necessity was my friend Christine. Christine is a Brit of Kiwi descent and Chinese heritage, and she's living and working over here in New Zealand. Really smart lady. It was her 50th birthday a year last December, and I was invited to a party. So thank you very much indeed, Christine, for the invitation. I flew Cathay, cheap, nasty. Didn't even take off from Gatwick Airport. 2 days later, it took off from Heathrow. Just for a one night of party. I thought perhaps I ought to spend a little bit longer there. So I did. If you buy your tickets on a Tuesday, they're cheap. If you can buy them for as long a duration as possible, like 5 months, they're even cheaper. And if they don't take off and you don't arrive within, I can't remember, it's 30 minutes or 2 hours, there was, when we were a member of the EU, a huge penalty that the aircraft pay you. So I got most of my money back, to be honest with you. I was really lucky. So thirdly was Paula from Yorkshire. Thanks for coming out to Tasmania and travelling around there with Christine and I. And last, my great friend, Chris LeBreton. Known him for many years. He was a Globetrotters member before he moved to Dunedin on the South Island of New Zealand. Yep, this is he's got a fabulous place, but most property in New Zealand seems to be fabulous. So before I attempt to educate you and entertain you, I had a realization. You are what you read, and libraries are really important. If you can't get to a library, then I suppose over in Britain you've got Amazon. Over here we have something called Trade Me. Get your books off there. The charity shops are superb for books because charity shops over here are superb for books because the libraries are just so good. I avoid faceache like the plague, or should I say that these days I avoid faceache like a dose of the COVID, and switch off Facebook. It's truly toxic. I'm trying to work out how to get onto Signal. And it's almost as toxic as Brian Rose on London Real. Don't even look at that. CP Grey, on the other hand, is fabulous. So books are great. They demonstrate that someone has thought about their message and how to write it, and others have thought it good enough to publish. You're looking at a place called Penguin, obviously. This is not a police box. This is a community library. People just take books and put new books in there. Really interesting. Most towns, villages, communities over here in the Southern Hemisphere have these community libraries. They would just get trashed in Britain. So if any of you aren't a magistrate or a justice of the peace yet, do consider sitting on the bench and nailing people who just make life unpleasant for everybody else. These books are superb. And some of the ones that you saw earlier on are just those books that I've picked up from these libraries, or from second-hand bookshops, op shops as they call them here, opportunity shops. What can I tell you about libraries? Do you know, the district in which I live in has got 5 libraries. They spend £2 million, $4 million a year on books. So in October 2019, I found books on COVID that were printed. Sorry, October 2020, I found books that were printed in August 2019. I've never seen that before in a British library. That was quite something for me. As a selection that I've read, Adam Rutherford is of no relation to Ernest Rutherford, the great Kiwi physicist. There was some Clive Pontin, named from a blast from the past. He was the Thatcher traitor who let the beans out the bag that we were going to have cruise missiles at Greenham Common. And lo and behold, today Greenham Common is a housing estate. But what a great book about the history of the natural world and how we have plundered it. We being the British in particular, but Europeans in general, have plundered the world, as I'm sure some of you know. But this book puts it into real focus and probably the basis of this presentation. So what's a kiwi? Is it a fruit, a prehistoric bird, or a culture? Well, let me tell you about the fruit first of all. It comes from a place that in Yorkshire would mean to vomit. There is a place in New Zealand called Tapuke or Tipuki in Maori. This is a great big fiberglass kiwi fruit. This is the green kiwi fruit because it's green on the inside. It's brown and hairy on the outside. There is another kiwi fruit called a Zespri Gold. They're sweeter and they're pretty good actually. So the kiwi fruit isn't actually from New Zealand. It's the gooseberry that was introduced in 1924 by 2 people, Hayward and Wright, from the Yangtze River Basin in China. So it is one of the good things that comes out of China. The fruit became popular with the British and American servicemen stationed in New Zealand during World War II and the Pacific campaign, and it later became commonly exported first to Great Britain and then to California in the 1960s. It's been massively selectively interbred to create a £1.86 billion international business centred not in God's county of Yorkshire, but in this place called Tipuki. It's Maori for a settlement below the hill. I have no idea how else to pronounce Maori names. There is a third colour, that is the ruby fruit. Never seen it. It sells for about £5 each in Japan. Apparently it tastes a little bit like a strawberry. So kiwis, all kiwis, are good to treat tough cuts of meat. If you've got cheap, nasty meat, like papaya, the fruit contains a protease enzyme called axitidin. It tenderizes meat. Don't expose your meat for more than about 2 minutes to kiwi fruit, otherwise it becomes a mush worse than McDonald's. This is the land of agriculture, technology and ingenuity. It really is. They fearlessly guard their environment from invasive species, anything from Chinese people to microbial fungi. You'll be found out and massively fined for having even a banana in your hand luggage. Never mind fruit, flowers, jars of honey, or dirt on your golf shoes or your camping equipment or your bicycle tyres. They already have wild rats, stoats, gorse, ants, possums from Australia. They don't need any more invasive species. Gorse from Scotland was their worst export. Nice idea, but it makes really rubbish livestock hedges. Problem with the kiwi is it was top of the food chain. It is now eaten by dogs, possums, stoats, really, really endangered. They're likely to be extinct in the wild by 2023. That's gives you an idea of the concern that they're trying to focus on this animal. You can find them in the wild. It wasn't for me to go around rooting around for them. I actually paid to go into a kiwi reserve to see them. What's amazing is the size of their eggs. Their eggs are about 3/4 the size of the body, and they are huge. They really are. They're sort of almost ostrich size eggs. So the culture, if I gave you that photograph, you could almost imagine that is from Brighton, or some seaside town in Britain in the 1950s. Noticed graffiti, the litter, the vandalism. It really, the paintings from the local schools. This is normal for New Zealand. The only giveaway that this is New Zealand 2021 is the plastic bin liner. Incredibly good environment here. They're really proud of keeping it up. The national mantra is be kind. There's two national mantras, actually. This is one of them. I really did think this was national. It's not. It was lifted from Jacinda Ardern's election campaign 2 seasons ago. She said, we are going to do politics differently. And it really has worked dividends over in New Zealand. She's a really competent communicator. The other thing about New Zealand is the answer is yes. All my life, the answer's been no in Britain. It's almost impossible to get a no out of a Kiwi. They are just really nice and generous. They do coffee. Sorry, I bounced that. I can't get it back. They do fabulous coffee. No one roasts their coffee, grinds their coffee, makes coffee at home. You go out for coffee, it's about $2.50. Always fabulously presented. And they're always up for a chat. Here you are. This is a 78-year-old guy. He's just retired. Still got the signs on his plumber's van. I repair what your husband fixed. Their sense of humour is great. He's getting rid of an old tractor for an old neighbour of his. Obviously a Ford rather than a Massey Ferguson, because a Massey Ferguson would still be used. They are coveted over here because they're small tractors and they get between the trees. Don't try this at home. Hitchhiking is wonderful over here. Okay, we have had COVID. I haven't tried it since COVID, but it will return. So the lady on the left just stopped off and gave me a lift. Don't do that outside Doncaster. I spent 7 hours trying to get a lift out of Doncaster. It's not that I can't afford the train fare or the bus fare. I'm up for an adventure. Over here, thank you for so many people who gave me a lift. It was really great. Here's one. This is Tracy. Picked me up off the side of the road, but there were so many others. And if you're watching, thank you very much indeed. They just stop off. This is a lady who was off for a run in a hat. The sun can be vicious here. She was running back from a gym morning, off for a coffee, stopped by, said good morning to me. We had a chat. Yeah, they're just so friendly out here. Could you imagine free sunscreen in Britain? I know it's difficult in the winter, but really, it's readily available everywhere. A little bit like sanitizer is in the shops over here now. It is a country of huge toys. Look at the size of that crane. Bit of road construction. And we have forklift trucks in Britain. This picks up 40-foot containers and moves them. Sorry about the quality of that shot. I just needed to get out of the way rather rapidly. But yeah. If you want the job doing properly, we suggested that you ask a woman like Jacinda. She's done a fabulous job. This is another wonderful lady. Her name's Rosemary and Derek. Surname's just gone out of my mind. They're originally from Cornwall 3 generations ago. They sort of look like sort of Cornish tin miners or gold miners over here. Real hippies, but superb. Look at this. Got themselves an old car and shoved a electric socket on the side. Oh dear, why is this not changing? And ripped out the engine and replaced it with batteries. Now, this is the first time I've seen a homemade electric car. I'm convinced any of us could do this with a bit of reading. You rebadge it with your little electric symbol at the back, and you rebadge the whole car. This is oil-free Otago. Look them up on the internet. Rosemary has been doing really well campaigning against oil exploration off the New Zealand coast. We've got North Sea oil. Here we've got sunshine. The big 6 economic sectors then: fishing, timber, dairy, tourism. Well, not perhaps tourism, agri-produce, land and construction. Construction here means timber. Lots of fish, they're all edible. I live in an area called the Bay of Plenty because it is. It's just stuffed with fish. That's your red snapper. Very few places in the world do you find those. And this is timber buildings. They just get delivered in pieces. You can buy a second-hand timber building and just move it to your plot, as these people have done so. Here's another house. It's an old 1885 gold miners hotel in the town of Thames. It's yours for £280,000. Wonderful place. It was a great hotel. That building was made from just one tree. The trees here are enormous. Problem with timber buildings, though, is that they do tend to burn if you're not careful. But there is an advantage of timber. They have earthquakes here. Timber moves, masonry just falls apart. Built in the 1880s in Dunedin, which is the Edinburgh of the Southern Hemisphere. Streetscapes here are something else. Now, that's just a bit of fun. It's a bit more expensive than just tarmac, but doesn't that look fun? You know, kids just love walking on the streets. Chevron parking, not a problem. People stop for you. They let you reverse out of your car parking spot because they or someone else will want it. Really nice. Occasionally they cock up on their roads. This is an old slip road off a motorway in Auckland, which is the Los Angeles of New Zealand. Horrible city. But they have converted it to a cycle route. What a fabulous cycle route, guys. It ducks under roads and over trees. And at night time, it has got an amazing light show. Just stunning. These glass screens on the side protect you from noise. It's actually quite a quiet cycle route through the middle of a city. It's quite something. And these lights move and mimic the high rise, which I understand are lit like this so the planes don't crash into them. Art is just on the street, no vandalism. Now, anyone from the Southern Hemisphere or been to the Southern Hemisphere in the right season will know this is a jacaranda tree. An amazing tree with blue flowers. And it's right outside the Holy Trinity Church of Tauranga. Church of England, burnt down by an arsonist about 10, 15 years ago. And they've rebuilt it as an auditorium. It has amazing acoustics. So the best concerts are there. The best stage shows are there. But what they did keep and have just had restored was some of the stained glass windows. Look at this. The old bit of that has been completely melted out has been replaced in clear glass. And the rest of the windows lovingly restored by a local craftsman team. The window was originally from Britain in the 1820s, brought over to New Zealand in the 1850s, burnt down in the 1990s. Inside and outside, there are some colonial buildings like this. This was the public library, again in Thames, and the records office next door to it. But inside private houses, they have something called the pantry, stacked full of dried goods and preserves. Quite something. It's something that we just don't seem to have in Britain. but they do it really well. They also have refrigerated drawers rather than doors on fridges, which is something. And the thing goes through to another company, Fisher Paykel. They make dishwashers that you don't have to be on your knees to fill. If you've only got a small load, you put it in the small drawer. If you've got a large load, you put it in the large drawer, and you can wash them separately, separate drawers. Real hit in New York City with the Jewish communities having meat and milk kitchens. Something I saw in the supermarkets. So if you've got about £2,000, you can have the latest in Samsung refrigerators, complete with a family hub TV screen with a privacy policy, which I did go through and discovered that it wasn't to be trusted. As I said, in New Zealand, it's all adventures. And I met this guy and said, "What do you do?" And he says, "I'm an engineer." "What sort of engineer?" "Oh, I'm an inspection engineer." "What do you inspect?" "Toys," he said. He took me out into the woods, or renamed plantation forests. Had to dress up for this one. Yeah, quite a dangerous environment to be working in. These are two huge toys. So the one on the right strips bark off logs. The one on the left is a tree cutter. So the three horizontal arms are arms. They just wrap themselves around a tree, hugging it against the teeth at the top. And if you look at the very bottom, there's a little flash of yellow. That is the chainsaw. It just cuts the tree off at the base, picks it up, lays it wherever it needs to be laid, ready for the bark and branch stripper. I've never seen such powerful equipment. There's a close up of the bark stripper. That's the tree cutter. That's a 17.5 ton digger. And there's the chainsaw at the bottom. So this is that guy, Paul. What a fabulous office to be working in. Just taking a quick call while he's inspecting the biggest crane I've ever seen. 170 tons of yard swinger. And this is from the back of the crane, looking up towards the two diggers that you saw earlier on. This machine picks up trees and swings them across valleys to where the trucks are ready to load them up. That's the size of it. That's the cab. It'll hold 2 people. And the background is what it is stripped. Really important that you leave the waste on the ground. It prevents the wind eroding the soil. This is all going to be replanted again, and it'll be cut down in 20, 30 years' time. The trucks here don't have underrunning side guards. Another reason to not cycle in this country. It's not, you don't utility cycle for lots of reasons, but that's the biggest one from my point of view. Look at that devastation. That's that machine right in the distance. Yeah, that got cleared in just over a month. Most of it goes into paper, toilet paper. Some of it goes into construction, but most of it is exported. I got to milk some cows. This is what you feed them. This is the supplement. They are in the fields 23 hours a day, but they do come in for milking. And this is what you feed them with, from a great big trailer with some great big augers that spill out the feed into the troughs. Huge tractors over here now. Lots of money invested in dairy. So quick 20-second video, I hope. So this is the stalls. This is where the cattle come. The water is just washing away the poo after the feed, and the feed is being thrown out. They love this. It's really if you're not careful, it goes alcoholic, and then you've got some real problems with the cows. The figures on the back of the trailer, sorry, I was trying to get all the detail in, is the number of kilos that this trailer is dumping off into. Yeah, you can feed 300 cows in about 5 minutes. Oops, sorry. How do I move on? Next is what I thought I pressed. This is a rotary cow shed. I've never seen cows dance, but you have to go to a rotary cow. And I'm really sorry I've got the video to show you, but this is how one person can milk up to about 350 cows in less than an hour. Quite something. There's Tim. Thank you very much indeed, mate, for inviting me out. You can see the cups and the other sets. Just behind that is the platform that the cows reverse to those metal bars so they don't topple over the side and crush you. And there are the ladies on their way for milking. These cows, I had the Ladybird Book of the Farmer when I was a kid. I'm sure it was eight gallons a day. These cows do 35 gallons each milking twice a day. Phenomenal quantities of milk are generated. Let's talk about the quality of life. Here you are. What do you want when you move to a new neighbourhood? A quality croquet cup, the bandstand, or the cycle track. This is a national cycle route that goes from north to south. Life is about your toy box. How about this for a fabulous building built in 1898? It was a hospital, hence the 3 windows, sash windows. Stayed there for a night. Wonderful place. Very different sound. Staying in a shed compared to a cave that we have over in Britain made of concrete. It creaks. It's quite weird. Notice the brick chimney stack. Or the city section. I was invited to look after this place for 2 weeks while they were away. Someone had to feed the cat. That's the north-facing deck. Everyone has a deck or 2. This is the west-facing deck. This is the east-facing deck. Yeah, they live outdoors a lot of the time. Or you can have your coastal place. That's the closest I got to a British home built by the engineer who lives in there. Hi, Peter and Jenny. Must have an outhouse, a sleep out, a man shed. Many lifestyle properties have got these. And that is the National Cycle Trail going through their front garden, effectively. What a view of the seaside. Some of the man sheds are just for storing old British cars, like that one. That's older than me, by the way. Let me tell you about Glenda and her friends. This is Dave. This is his man shed. This is Dave's wife, the local GP. Can't really see the view through the windows there. Let me give you a better view. How about that? Waking up, going to bed, whatever. This is a poachery in the Coromandel. Great place. Great view. Dave very kindly took me out in his fishing boat and back to his shed, watching some good rock music while sharpening the tools. This is the road to Glenda's. It's just wonderful cycling country, it really is. Sort of turn left off onto a track, continue along the track, it forks, but you carry straight on, go over the bridge, through the woodland. These are all radiator pines. These are what gets cut down for pulp making. And this is her back garden. Unfortunately, I haven't got the sound on this, but just through those trees is the ocean. And when you've come out of the ocean for a dip, you need to wash off. Right, that wasn't the slide I expected. This is Glenda's other shed. Sorry, I was going to say, yeah, there's showers for boys and girls on either side of the house, external showers. Don't do that at home in Britain, you're going to freeze. This is Glenda's shed, and the outhouse is an old Bedford truck that's been converted to a wonderful caravan. Thanks for your accommodation there, Glenda. This is her shed. The toys are there somewhere. And this is why there's more things in life to worry about putting stuff away. This is the sandbank on which the dotterels nest. That's the other direction. Notice you can go skinny dipping here. No, there's no one around. That's the river estuary and a view from the top. Just great countryside. All the hills go down. You notice it's good for cycling. And one morning I was outside just having my boiled eggs, and there was your quail. Now, oh, that's the outside showers. Yeah, I forgot to tell you about that. There you are. His and hers on the other side. So, if you haven't got your own man's head, you can go and rent one or band together with some mates. Yeah, husband daycare. They look after their old people really well over here. A little bit like we did in Britain in the 1950s, 1960s. Priorities first. Someone will bring the scones in, a hot tea, the vegetables from your plot, and your wood burning stove. If you get cold in this country, you just chop down another tree. And you've got all the tools that you need to restore and build. This was a 1920s boat that was restored. Very proud job he made of that. It really was a work of art. Fabulous. I took this photograph of this lady just that it's a great quote for a vegetarian, really. Ancient tribal slang for the village idiot who can't hunt, fish, or shoot, or ride, as the case may be. We have fox hunting in Britain, sort of banned. They're trying very hard to ban hunting with helicopters. There's a lot of venison over here, really good quality stuff, actually. As there are birds. Those are obviously ducks in the back. That's a pikiko in the front. Not the brightest of bird. Well, it is. It's very attractive, but they do seem to get hit by motor vehicles. A lot of roadkill in New Zealand. A dead cyclist at the side of the road wouldn't be out of place. But when needs must. That's it in the frying pan, and that's it on the serving board. It was really nice. Sorry, by the way, I am a meat inspector. I do know what I'm doing, but yeah. There's another one. That's you recognise that as a pheasant. Just needs plucking. And in the pot it goes. There is a problem with horizontally hinged windows in the countryside, and that is that they reflect the sky. And these poor quail really did cop it. I thought it was just an accident first time around, but it wasn't. So they get defeathered. That really wasn't worth the effort, was it, folks? It really wasn't worth the effort. That was a quail. Tastes a bit like chicken. Served on the plate. There's my thumb, just to give you an idea of the size, but you've got to practice somewhere, haven't you? Boats and other fishing toys. This is Jenny. Jenny and Al have just gone and bought another boat, and that is a proper snapper. You descale it, and those are your fillets. Lovely stuff it was. What do you do with your fish heads? It's a really simple answer. You go back to your toy box and you get the smoker out. Load it up with your fish heads, and there you have it. I didn't think ever that I would eat fish heads. I promise you, smoked fish head is well worth it. They really are a real delicacy. Even the eyes are better than they look. Adventure 4. Yeah, now this is quite something. This was lockdown. Yeah, it was sort of quite frightening, but at the same time, it was very, very clearly explained. I couldn't get the screenshot. It just wouldn't do it. So I had to copy it down. Yeah, dead on 6:30, one evening, 25th of March. Both of my phones started sounding an alarm. and it was on a brand new screen. It wasn't the home screen, it wasn't email, it wasn't text, it wasn't WhatsApp. Complete new screen, and the following message was, emergency alert, National Emergency Agency, from 11:59 p.m. tonight, the whole of New Zealand moves into COVID-19 alert level 4. This message is for all of New Zealand. We are depending on you. Follow the rules, stay at home, act as if you have COVID-19. This will save lives. Remember, where you stay tonight is where you must stay from now on. You must only be in physical contact with those you live with. It is likely that level 4 measures will stay in place for a number of weeks. Let's do our bit to unite against COVID-19. Kaya Aotearoa. So there you have it. That is lockdown. Well, it worked. I mean, basically, I met a guy, friend of a friend, whose home had been trashed by a load of junkies, completely smashed up. And within 4 weeks, I was able to completely refurbish it, decorate it, and the garden, and make it look pristine, ready to let out again. I also grew a beard, more than usual. That is the better of all the photographs I've got, by the way. And out very tentatively finding a decent beer and other culinary delights. They do lager over here. You can't get a decent British beer, unfortunately, although I did find the Londoner pub in Hamilton serves a good pint of Old Peculiar. Croucher beer, I only got this bottle because it asks you to drink responsibly by wearing a helmet. Helmet wearing is a legal requirement over here. Another reason why people don't cycle. But backstreets, microbreweries are all the rage. A lot of this is lager, but some of it is actually dark and stormy on the bottom there. Fourth from the right, yeah, recommend it. Camera has its own version of Society of Beer Advocates. Their sense of humour over here is great. Sober, the people who drink. Their bacon is disgusting. Their sausages are worse, but man, do they do really good lamb. This is something different though. This is better than bacon. This is mutton bacon. I have some sliced up for you in the freezer for when I return. It really is a great food if you're into it. You don't need sauce in New Zealand. Most of it is really good. We're familiar with Heinz, but the best stuff is Watties. And guess what? They sold out to the Americans, so it's now Heinz Watties in New Zealand. If you get Watties, different taste. It's really quite nice. Sausage rolls come frozen, just chop them off to length. Couldn't get sausage meat to make my own sausage rolls. And there's something else called L&P, lemon and pyroa. Well, I knew what lemon was, so I did actually ask someone, what is pyroa? I thought it was another fruit. It's not. It's a place. It's the equivalent of Buxton. It has spring water. And when you get to the town of Pyroa, there's a great big fiberglass brown bottle of L&P as a monument in the centre of the town. It's just great. They celebrate what they do there, which you can't say that of Buxton. Nestles have yet to give them a bottle of water for the centre of Buxton. Instead, I thoroughly recommend from 2019, I cycled from Land's End to Charlie Groats. Call in to the Catering College at Buxton. It's part of Derby University. They do great coffee, different to New Zealand coffee, obviously. That's a reflection of the dome of the restaurant. Where else can you get crêpes Suzette for 10 quid for a 4-course meal in the old hospital built by Lord Cavendish, as in Cavendish banana fame? Well, thank you for the Kiwis. They are really nice people and they've done great stuff. Apart from discovering the atom, climbing Mount Everest, and inventing the rotary clothesline, cycling along, and in the middle of Thames, sorry, on the outskirts of Thames, at the airfield, there's another fiberglass model, this time a Hurricane. Nice to get underneath one, just have a look at it. amazing bit of technology. Quite incredible to think that we were actually able to win a war with that. What is it to in New Zealand? Well, point is there's this guy called Air Chief Marshal Sir Keith Park, an amazing guy. There is a statue to him at the bus station. I didn't know who he was from Adam. Just sort of thought. He was the guy who's responsible for Sector 12 during the Battle of Britain. You thought that Dowding was the guy who was heading the RAF. This is the Kiwi, born in Thames, and he managed the whole of the Battle of Britain in the southeast of Britain. Incredible guy. Make me go out and get a copy of the Battle of Britain movie, just to sort of work out the numbers. 14 New Zealand pilots didn't make it home. A number of them are actually buried in Oxford in my local cemetery. But yeah, that was the Allied death toll. It was much, much greater on the other side. Britain needed to shoot down 4 times as many planes as we had actually got. So yeah, great tribute to both the Kiwis and the other nations that helped us out there. There is a lot of old stuff in New Zealand, meaning that it's about 150 years old. Some of their railways were old mineral lines. Paroa, by the way, is a gold mining town. Buxton just mines Blue John and limestone. And this is the old railways. They've invested some money here. They've made them long distance cycle routes, put in the tunnels, put in the bridges. Wooden bridges, great. They're not the concrete bridges that I usually cycle over. These are fun. Look how clear the water is. This is typical watercourses in New Zealand. You know, you can take your family canoeing and picnicking on the banks here. Not far from the coast, at Thames actually. Thames the town, not Thames the river. More cows, and they just wire them in with the electric fences. Another great Kiwi invention. Those are big cows, by the way. Yeah, I was a bit wary of taking a photograph, but they were friendly enough. When you've got bridges, you've also got tunnels, and you can even see the light at the end of that tunnel. Huge constructions. That's a motorhome, obviously, on the road going overhead. And if it falls down, they just fence it off. You know, the health and safety here it's not for idiots. You're expected to take responsibility for yourself, but you can get out into some very quiet, beautiful areas. There's always a dunny. New Zealand is really proud of their public toilets, and they've got a whole variety of them. This one, you'll tell from the chimney on the top, is a long drop. Essential that you keep the lid closed after use, because that is how they are ventilated. Otherwise, the whole place goes sort of a little bit unpleasant. But it's squeaky clean. I promise you, I've not used a flash on that. That's how clean toilets are in New Zealand. They are really proud of them. These are the toilets in the public library. Close the lid before you flush. Part of the COVID, actually. Yeah, we were talking about having face masks to prevent droplets entering your eyes. How about having toilet seats in British toilets? We removed them because the drug addicts were snorting cocaine off them. Well, just deal with the issue. Don't try and pander to resolving a problem by making an even bigger one. COVID leadership. Goes back to 1919, the Spanish flu. About 4,000 Kiwis were killed at Gallipoli and in the First World War. Another 6,000 died another 4,000 died in the following 6 months after the war from the last pandemic. So they know something about quarantine. Some of you will have seen this. Someone sent this to me on WhatsApp, showing the first 600 cases of COVID and how COVID spread across the world from Cambridge University. Look it up. Really, really interesting graphic. As I said, be kind was the mantra. Everyone had teddy bears in their front windows. Really helpful people. This was the posters that were up within days of lockdown, absolutely within days. And the community looked after each other and enforced COVID. We had a signing in system using a QR code, worked brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. They didn't need my assistance as a public health inspector that traces tuberculosis in Britain. They've got their own system. I did volunteer, promise you. Even places to phone up, and you were advised to stay at home, very clearly, in lots of humour. And very quickly, within 6 weeks, we got COVID down to very small numbers. Someone else sent me that from Britain. Right, okay. 5 minutes. Dunedin and the South Island. Dunedin is Gaelic for Edinburgh, but the route to Edinburgh is just awesome. This is typically New Zealand. There's not enough people here. 4.8 million, don't call it 5. Dunedin railway station, as Gothic and as Scottish as you could imagine. Beautiful on the interior and exterior. Alas, I don't think there's any more passenger train services from there. The Carnegie Library, one of the few brick-built buildings. Every stone in this church was brought over from Scotland. Can't remember the name of the architect. He built some great mental asylums in the 1930s. Really interesting architecture. You're not going to be able to read. This was sorry, they have some good museums, some very good museums here. Get to see the Museum of Broken Relationships. Little items that remind people of their previous partners. The stories that went with them were great. This is probably a good one. Terribly disorganized, could never remember what he'd planned, was always running late, losing his keys, generally a complete mess. I wonder who they're talking about. I bought a spare charger for his phone because all the nights he stayed over, the battery went flat, eventually forgot about me as well. And now there's no one for this charger, so I've donated it to the Museum of Broken Relationships. Great stories, just stunning stories. They celebrate bonfire night over here, but you can only buy fireworks for 3 days beforehand. I mean, think about it, it's a little weird, isn't it, that we celebrate a failed terrorist attack 400 years on. This was before COVID. They closed a street in Dunedin, but it's just, looking back on it, you just go, wow, that's quite fortuitous. Dunedin is cold. It's as cold as Edinburgh. They actually have a curtain bank, like a food bank. If you're running out of curtains, you want to keep warm, go to the curtain bank. They do have tribute shows. I have never seen so many Zimmer frames in a theatre before. I went along because it's the only show going. Actually, that's not true. 2 days later, there was The Boss, a tribute band to Bruce Springsteen. All Kiwis, great musicians, note perfect. Really, really good show. What peeved me off about this is I paid 35 quid to watch these guys. That's $70. I paid less to see The Real Man in 1982 at Wembley Stadium. I know it was a lot less. Trumping the bush. Have a look at this for trees. You really are in paradise. Amazing. These are pong trees. The light is just incredible. Okay, we have to get sunset in. Very quickly, 1 minute, Morrinsville. It's where your anchor butter comes from. Someone's had the bright idea of getting some cattle and painting them. It's not new. I think we've had elephants in London, but the artwork on this is superb. This is the lifestyle of New Zealand. These are all sponsored by local businesses, the hydraulic hose company, the painters and decorators, the local rugby club, local florists, or hairdressers or beauty parlour, I can't remember. But yeah, real great detail. The cheese manufacturer, the cheese factory. St John's Ambulance is the ambulance service over here, and they are paid by the government to go out and pick people up. But yeah, reasonable sized town, but only 1,000 call-outs in the last year. And the puns that these animals were given. This is the Paramoodical. I think I pronounced that correctly, with the AED on its back. What do you call a group of cows? You obviously call it a herd. But look at the patch. This took me a little bit of working out. And for the cartographers among you, you will have worked out that is a map of the North Island, and the star is where Morrinsville is. Again, for the cartographers, here's the other question. Look at that one rather carefully. You can probably find out where New Zealand is. I don't need you to call out all at once as to where London is. Now, I've been told that wasn't on purpose. It's just something that I noticed. As I said, the toilets are wonderful artwork, inside and outside. Some of them actually play jazz music while you're on the throne. Just great. Public toilets in a coastal town, beautifully painted up, really nice, really attractive. And that, if you've been to Australia or New Zealand, you'll know is a banksai. It's the flower of the banksai tree. Hey, within an hour. Any questions?
So, any questions? Raise your hand or do something.
Paul, I'm stuck.
Yeah, you're stuck. I'm
Ben
stuck.
and Ella Ryanstad, I've got a question.
Ella and Ben, hang on, where am I? Sandy.
Can you just unmute yourselves, perhaps?
Yeah, I have a question. What was your favourite experience when you were out there? Did you hear me?
Just. What was your favourite experience, Simon, when you were out there? Where's Simon gone? Simon? Are you there, Simon? Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're there.
It's Simon that can't hear us.
Maybe he's nodded off.
Wow,
What a
He's
what a
just
mis-
disappeared.
I can see
Simon,
him.
No, you can see him. We can see him kind of looking at the screen, it looks
froze.
like.
He's frozen, hasn't he?
what a
It's not
mysterious
frozen
finale.
online.
Well, will the last person out of New Zealand please turn out the lights?
Simon, can you hear us?
That's what they used to say.
Simon.
Simon!
Hello, birthday boy.
His audio's gone. It's like me in breakout room.
It looks as though he's gone.
Just his audio, I think.
I understand you talking to me. I can't hear you.
There he
What
is.
have I got to
Okay.
do?
Have you turned your
I'm
speakers
not
on?
I'm off mute.
Have you
Oh,
got the
you're there
speakers on?
now. We can hear you now.
We
Can
can
hear
hear you,
you,
but
Simon.
Yeah, he can't
Which
hear us.
phrase?
Hello.
You've gone again.
hang on.
Hmm.
Well,
Someone is muted.
It's not muted. It's
He's off mute now.
All right. Hello.
You hear
Oh,
us?
yes, I can.
Good, we got you.
Yeah,
you
sorry about that.
select a speaker. I can't remember what the question was now. Can you ask it again?
Yeah, sure.
Hello.
Again.
Simon,
You need to-
what's been your favourite experience since you've been out there?
Yeah, that's a good question. Just the people that you meet, and the ridiculous conversations that you get, and another understanding of how you can do things differently. It's quite something. Yeah, it's nice to have sunny weather. It makes such a difference. The architecture, actually, I'm actually quite into architecture as an old man. You know, just sort of seeing how things are done. So that's kind of good. Food, yeah, just everything. Life is good here. You will not be allowed to buy property over here. Excuse me. They are fiercely protective of their country. They don't want any more immigrants unless you've got some really good qualifications. They still can't get fruit pickers, but the fruit pickers that they do have are only allowed to be here for sort of, say, 6 months at a time. Yeah, it's good for a holiday. I mean, if you can afford it, and as Luke told us last month, you can get a train to Shanghai and then get a boat over to Australia and New Zealand. Yeah, worth doing. And then you could have a continuous summer, which is what I've got now. This is my third summer, effectively.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go on.
Did you encounter any Maoris in your travels, or do you?
Yeah, you do. There's no pure Maori. There's been a lot of interbreeding between Europeans and the Pacific peoples. How do I say this? There is two distinct societies over here. It ribs me a little bit. It annoys me. It rubs me up the wrong way. There's a lot of Maori people that don't. They are the under society, definitely. There's those that do get a good education, work hard, and are really successful. But there's a large group of them who don't appreciate education and haven't moved on. And that's just lack of opportunity, really. I mean, I know that they have really bad health outcomes through poverty more than anything else. Although there's a lot of land which has been given back to the Maori and promised back to the Maori. Oh, by the way, happy Waitangi weekend. It's a bank holiday over here, celebrating the Treaty of Waitangi, which is the equivalent of the Magna Carta in Britain. Yeah, there are Maori. They're nice people. They love their body art. Their tattoos are amazing. I just didn't have the time to show you any, but thanks for asking.
So you haven't really explained why you're still there. Surely you can get a plane home now.
No, I forfeited my ticket. It cost me a whole 25 quid to forfeit it. First of all, we were locked down. Then the Chinese authorities closed down Hong Kong airport for months. And then I was flying Cathay Pacific, and they weren't flying in or out of New Zealand. there wasn't the demand. And then one day I was in south of the island hitchhiking, and I got a text through, or an email through, sort of saying, get up to Auckland in 3 days, you've got a flight booked. And there's me going, you what? No, I'll hang on here. What would I want to do? Sitting in a plane in a confined environment for 14 hours with a whole load of other snivelling tourists to go back to Heathrow Airport and back to a COVID infected area. So put it bluntly, I thought I'm better off in New Zealand than I am going to be in Britain at the moment. Someone else has just asked, when would I come back? The blunt answer might be when you've got it sorted. The realistic answer might be, I was interested in the local elections in Britain, but I don't know whether you're actually having them in April. Can anyone tell me?
Yeah,
Sorry,
we
May.
are. Yeah, okay.
May the 5th.
May the 5th. They're still on, are they?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I should use my democratic right and come home for a day just to vote. Over here, we've just had elections. They have elections for a week over here. And they have the odd referenda as well. 2 referenda. One was on the use of cannabis, that was overthrown. The other one was assisted suicide. And that was agreed by about the same majority as Brexit was in Britain, which doesn't say much for referenda, does it?
Do New Zealand let you stay there indefinitely? They don't mind. No worries about visas or anything.
Okay, they're nice people. They are pragmatic. This is known as the land of number 8 fence wire. If it bends and holds, that's number 8. Anything else is less inferior. They automatically extended my visitor's visa by 18 months. So Jacinda knows something more than anyone else is letting on. I've got a visa now for November. And I've just converted that to a work visa, just in case someone was to offer me kiwi picking fruit or something. So why would I come back to a cold, wet, damp Britain at the moment?
Could I just say that I had an unexpected week-long adventure in New Zealand 2 Christmases ago. And I'd just like to say that, yes, the people are incredibly kind. I got stuck. It was over Christmas and the entire place shuts for 2 weeks. It was completely impossible to hire a car and to move around. There was nothing for it but just to fly back to the UK. And while I was really stuck, I met various people who were incredibly helpful, like people I didn't know, giving me a lift back to the little sort of cheap hotel I was staying in the pouring rain with 2 big bags of shopping, you know, gave me a lift of about 1.5 miles back right to my door. And another girl who had looked after our house here in France, she got in touch and we got in touch and she bloody rang me up on Christmas Day. I didn't want to let her know really that I was stuck on my own and insisted that I went and had Christmas with her family in the local town. They were just so sweet. And I also wanted to say that that I thought the old cars were absolutely incredible. I was in the North Island, a place called, I don't know how to pronounce it, Whangarei.
Sounds
anyway,
rude. Yeah, that place.
The old cars, there were just the most amazing old crocs going around, and you really just couldn't tell whether they were going backwards or forwards half the time. They certainly wouldn't have been on the road over here. Anyway, it was extremely interesting, but awful expensive.
No, it's awful expensive because there's $2 to the pound, and they pay tax on their food, which is why dead wildlife is really cheap.
It was expensive because of the flights. I just paid my flight out.
So the longer you take over here, the longer you spend over here, the cheaper it is. It's costing me a cup of coffee a day now. I can run to that.
That's good.
But I'm lucky. I'm in a position that I can do that. They are fearless here. There's no fear over strangers. They are that welcoming. Yeah, it's don't try hitchhiking in Britain. It doesn't work. But over here, not a problem. Really, really not a problem. And you get to meet some fabulous people. Last
Yeah.
Christmas, like you, I was stuck down, and
And they have lovely artwork.
yes,
That's a lovely wallet.
yeah. There's murals everywhere. There's no graffiti. It's not like sort of that stuff that's sprayed on trains. Yeah, if you haven't got anything better to do, please apply to become a magistrate in Britain and clean it up for me, please. I liked how it was. Yeah, they of course summer and Christmas coincide over here, so it is Christmas on the beach, which is
If you've got a car to get there.
very weird. Yeah, yeah, or you, yeah. Try it. Yeah, I know you've always been taught never hitchhike. Your mum's always told you that. You've been to the Adventure Travel Film Festival a couple of years ago. There was a great video called Hitch Istanbul. I thoroughly recommend it. But yeah, it's what's possible. No, thanks, Patricia, for that thought. Those thoughts. You've just mirrored my experience. Well worth coming over here to visit. Really is. Did anyone else want to ask? There's another Patricia shaking her head at me.
When did you go to New Zealand then?
I'm sorry?
When did you go to New Zealand?
When did I go? November the 28th, 2019.
How long have you been in New Zealand for in total? Nearly 2 years then? Well,
14 months. 14 months.
So where are
Same
you
as
based?
me.
Right now, I'm talking to you from a little village called Aotearoa, which is Maori for the European village. It's on the edge of Tauranga, which is on the Bay of Plenty in the northeast side of the North Island.
That's near where I was.
Yeah, oh, I'll tell you what, I can tell you it's where there's 1,540 kilowatt hours of sunlight energy per square metre per year.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's pretty good. That's why the Europeans settled here. That's why Captain Cook dropped anchor.
But returned.
No, I think he went to Easter Island and upset the locals, so they ate him on his birthday.
Oh, be careful.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks, Doreen. Was there
I have
any
a
other
question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I have a question.
Go for it.
Where's your favourite place you stayed in New Zealand?
I'll tell you what, warm, soft sand isn't it. I've slept out on the beach on a few occasions, and it's not all it's cracked up to be. The youth hostels here are superb. Some are YHA youth hostels with the usual high standards. I've never been in any uncomfortable. Oh, it's probably Glenda's Caravan. Yeah, that was brilliant. You woke up in the morning, and you could see fresh oranges on the tree outside. Yeah, that was the one. That was a difficult question, but yeah, that's the answer. Definitely, go outside naked, pick an orange, eat it before you go for a shower. Yeah, priorities sometimes change over here.
Would you like to live? Would you like to live there permanently, Simon? Not boring.
No, come on, Doreen. You and I know how good the London theatres are. Things will change. They will get better. I really miss West End Theatre. I really miss performing arts. I really miss English beer. I have not got my money's worth out of joining camera this year. I miss my friends, obviously. You don't get the face-to-face chat.
It's good family life, but you know, in normal times, shoot a gun down the high street at 10 o'clock at night and you wouldn't hit anyone. I mean, it's pretty quiet.
Doreen, you're absolutely right. Do you know why? A good Kiwi is in bed by 7:30 at night. They're up and at working at 6 o'clock in the morning. I mean, okay, it's 4:15 now. In an hour and a quarter, in an hour's time, I will be climbing the mount, the extinct volcano, with friends to see sunrise. That's the sort of thing they do at 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, they get up early, they get to bed early. They don't. Only alcoholics are out on the piss after 8 o'clock at night. And me looking for a decent pint.
A party.
No, you're in bed. It is different. You were like that in Britain in the 1950s. That's what I mean.
Know. I was born around then, and I don't remember it being that dull.
That dull? All right, then no, not in central London. You're right. And you are right. There are community libraries in Britain now. It's good to see them.
But a good place without COVID. A good place.
If you want the job doing properly, you ask a woman. It is just so different here compared to the leadership that you've had in Britain.
And it's not a world like we are.
Good looking sheep. Some very good looking sheep there.
Is that the best? You don't know about the
wine. Don't you do wine, Simon? No wine.
I do wine. I prefer red over white. Their white wine is different. Their red wine isn't as good as European wine, in my humble opinion. But then again, I'm a European. That's what I was dragged up on. Yes. So, I mean, I would get used to it. Gisborne's a little bit further away. I'm not in wine country. Thinking of which, I don't think I've ever seen Kiwi wine or avocado wine yet. I'm sure it's possible. I'll do some homework on that. Bring a bottle back for you.
Good.
Any other questions?
No, great, Simon. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you very much indeed. Really enjoyed that.
Thanks for staying and have a lovely birthday.
Thank you very much indeed. I'll hand over to, I believe it's Mark now, and I shall be here for the rest of the talks.
Well done.
Thank you very much indeed, all of you, and thanks for joining me. Best wishes. Keep away from each other. Use the telephone and the computer, please. I'd like to see you all very soon, but thanks for joining me.